if you would have said I would be sitting with uh, guys with long beards and hats talking about religion, I would have been like, what? Right? What is all this? But the fact of the matter is, I think once we get past um, appearances, traditions, what's your tradition might not be my tradition. But when we get to the truth, and like which started me to a conversation with Rabbi Yanni, is the truth is the truth. It's of course. It's not I look different from you, I do this, you don't do that. Truth is the truth. And I know that millions, billions of people like me are going to be knocking on the door because of the internet, because of the outreach. And I think Chabad is going to be very, very busy soon, not just trying to serve and unite Jews, it's going to be uniting the world. It's the right message, it's logical. So I'm 56, Rabbi, and I'm a university professor and happily married. My wife is 54. She's a physician in family medicine and emergency room medicine. And I have two sons, grown up, out of the house, doing well. So all is good. So really, my story picks up. I've always been sort of, if I could say, spiritual. Um, I would say that for a lay person, know my Bible probably a little bit better than a lay person, but certainly not to the degree of theology or rabbinic. Um, about 3 years ago, 4 years ago, my dad, who was 90 at the time, got to the place where he couldn't take care of himself anymore. And he was in Florida. I'm in Tulsa. Went and got him. Asked my wife, since my other family members didn't want to or couldn't, felt they couldn't take care of him, asked my wife if that would be okay. She was all on board with that. We've been blessed for 3 years of having my father live with us while we're doing our full time jobs. What a blessing that was. But unfortunately, around December of last year, he finally got to the point where he had fallen, split his head open pretty bad, and unfortunately broke his back. So that was kind of it. We made the difficult decision to let him have some dignity and to pass on as peacefully as possible. So we were actually able to get into a hospice house that was free of charge, and this was the most one of the most godly places that I have been in. As far as there was no charge, all volunteers except for a few healthcare workers, and it allowed my father to uh, die with dignity. It allowed me the good transition. So after my dad passed away, he was there about 20 days. Starting in January, I usually wake up in the morning and I ask myself, what can I do to serve God? How can I make this a better place for all? I pray for opportunities and my eyes to be open for opportunities to serve others. I mean, I'm a teacher by trade, so I love doing that. But I finally asked myself, what can I do for me? And over the course of 4 months, not searching, not doing Google searches, but just keeping that in the back of my mind that I need to do something for myself to be a little bit closer to God. All of a sudden, Chabad of YouTube showed up one time when I was looking on YouTube. Again, no algorithm here because I wasn't looking up Jewish, I wasn't looking religion, I wasn't looking Chabad. It showed up, and it was one of your videos. Um, and I don't remember which one because I've watched many over the time. But my reaction to everything in my conversation with Yanni has been everything that I hear, everything that I read, trying to read the Torah and understand it has been, of course. It's not a revelation. I'm not looking to convert. I'm not looking to be a Noahide. I'm just looking to be me, but um, I am part of God's plan. So everything that I hear has been, I know this. My reaction is, of course, but um, I've known it all along. It's not a shock. I can't explain that feeling, and that led me to you. That led me to being a VIP. Led me to starting to take the Torah classes, which I've enjoyed, to get a different perspective than a non-Jew perspective of the first five books of Moses, and it's been eye-opening, but yet not a surprise deep down, is my feeling. And the whole thing, I've talked with Yoni about, a lot of the Hasidic community might be upset with, Hashem, God needs us. God is limitless. He doesn't need us. Well, my take is, of course he does, because he created it that way. So anyway, that's sort of my story, that and good conversations I've had with Rabbi Yanni over the past month or so.
I think that should be the common normal reaction. It's not news. It's true. It's organic. So it shouldn't be treated as a religious revelation. It's just real. Sometimes, too much information clouds the brain. So, yeah, that when people do get it, that's the response. The response is, yeah, either I knew that or I should have thought of that myself. Why didn't I think of that? Because it's so real. You can't improve on the truth. So we're going to have to continue this re-education just to get the blocks out. What's preventing people from connecting to God naturally, not religiously? Well, whatever it is, we got to get past it. And it's happening more and more. People are willing to drop all preconceived notions and just let the truth be what it is without trying to manipulate it. So to some degree, religion has manipulated the truth. They have manipulated God to no one's benefit except the religion. So it's very good to hear this. It's very, very encouraging.
My conversation with Yanni kind of revolved around that I believe that Chabad is the tool that will reach non-Jews. And I know Chabad's mission is to, primarily serve all Jews and bring them together and, worship with all your heart and passion, intensity, and love. Um, but I think Chabad is the future, and I think it's the future of the Jewish people being the light of the world and being the teachers of the world. Um, as a non-Jew, I'm sort of saying, okay, I'm knocking on the door. Maybe there hasn't been many in the past, but world is not working out. I think we're progressing, but the things that we do is not working. And more people are going to say, instead of having my truth and your truth, we need to figure out the truth. And one of the things that I've decided to begin to, for my own search for the truth, is to go directly to the source. A Hasidic Jew, to say the word of it's the first five books of Moses are not a summary from Moses. They're direct from God's mouth. So shouldn't I, as a non-Jew, study that? A lot of it will pertain to me. Some won't. Hey, 613 commandments, you can have them. I'm good with 7.
Thank you. Thank you.
Anyway, I think there's more Gentiles, whatever you want to call non-Jews, that are finding this message. And while it might be particularly Yanni's message to uh, a Jewish community, it's reaching far beyond, as your channel already does. And I know, Rabbi, that this is a, a thing for you to reach out to all, which is great. But I think it's time that the Jews say, okay, we're going to be persecuted. We want to be wiped off the face of the earth. We've got to deal with a lot of things, but you guys signed up for it. You're the teachers of the world. Somehow God created these obstacles for whatever reason, but it's time to teach us. I think we're ready. What do you think?
Absolutely. Could you imagine a curriculum on this subject, or an academic way of teaching this, the way people are accustomed to learning, those who went to college?
I don't know because it seems like, and some questions that I have maybe a little bit later on, specific to you and as a non-Jew of relationship to God as a non-Jew. But I would imagine that if Chabad is going to be the tool, Chabad, we have to have a relationship with God. So I don't know on a curriculum basis how you teach that. I'm sure this is what you do, but I don't know how to institutionalize that beyond a rabbinic school. I don't know.
I have a son who is a chaplain in a federal penitentiary in California. He created a curriculum for the inmates based on this idea that we are here to serve, that we are needed rather than needy. The response that he has gotten from murderers, serious criminals, the average sentence is 30 to life. There's pretty serious guys there. And their reaction is unbelievable. It tapped into something that, you go from one extreme to the other. And what they all say when they graduate his course, I've lived my life only for myself. And now I realize that life is about others. And as selfish and greedy as they were before, that's how altruistic they're becoming now, like to the opposite extreme. It's amazing. So he did create a sort of a curriculum, because if you don't know that God needs you, how do you serve him? How do you connect? What is your connection? If you think he doesn't need you, what are you, stalking him? And it's not a long process. I think they also have this reaction. Why didn't I think of that?
But James, you've sort of been following the back and forth
Mhm.
of other Hasidic Jews and rabbis, and a number of them scholars, hearing this and saying God is unlimited, God is perfect, He's complete in and of Himself, God needs nothing and God needs nobody, and He definitely doesn't need your mitzvahs. And as I said before, it's always been a battle for us because how do you sort of get to the truth? Because obviously many people don't agree with it. At the same time, why would you expose this behind the scenes conversation? Just curious, and then I'd love to hear the rabbi's thoughts. What have your thoughts been watching other religious Jewish and even possibly Hasidic and even possibly Chabad rabbis saying That's ridiculous. God is perfect. He needs nothing and he needs nobody.
Yeah, two things specific to this question, and again, just coming from somebody that, like I said, maybe a above average knowledge of layman Bible study. I'll say that and leave it at that. So that's my perspective. Hadn't studied anything, just beginning to really study the Torah as God's actual written word. To me, it just seems, yes, God is limitless. God is infinite. God is everything. But does God need us? Yeah, because he created it that way. He didn't have to create it that he needs us, but he created it that way. If I didn't get married so my wife just to take care of me, I married because the love, the relationship. She's my pleasure, as the rabbi likes to say sometimes about marriage. She's my absolute pleasure. Well, I want to have that relationship with God. I just don't want God to keep us or keep the Jewish people instead of 40 more years in the desert and take care of them, making them drink from a rock and, eating matzah. No, he I think developed the Jewish people from infancy, from children, and over the years have created what he needs to create to complete his plan.
But
So part of the plan is he needs us.
but
He could
he
have created he doesn't need us, but he created it that way. Ask God.
wait, Robert Friedman, I just is that I don't want to is that accurate? Like he could have created it differently? What is
Well, the fact that he could have created it differently doesn't weaken or undermine what we're saying. It makes it stronger. Of all the infinite possibilities, look at what God chooses to do, which tells you how necessary or essential it is. So saying God could have done anything only strengthens the argument. So it's not like, oh, you see, he could have done anything and he just happened to choose this one, but it could have been any other. That's not logical thinking. If it could have been any other, why did he choose this? He flipped a coin. I mean, come on.
And my reaction to that is, of course, which has been my reaction to everything so far, is of course. It's not like I say, my eyes aren't open. I'm sort of shocked. My whole body feels something, but logically, it's of course. I've always known this.
what was your background, religious background growing up, or what is it now?
Well, it's believe it or not, my background growing up was a spiritualist religion because coming from Salem, Massachusetts, there's still a spiritualist religion, but then it switched over to just a Protestant religion. Um, and I just sort of do my own thing. If there's a good charity and the church is doing good work, they get my sweat of my brow, a piece of the sweat of my brow. But I just kind of feel that religion in general gets in the way because I think it's a man-made thing, and I think that's where we get into trouble.
Gotcha. But um, just I want to go back. I have to ask the rabbi. Well, when we say that God had an infinite amount of possibilities, but yet he chose this one, meaning that's inferring that he could have chosen that the mitzvos and the commandments don't matter, right? Infinite possibilities, they do matter, they don't matter, but yet he chose this one. Does that show that there really was no choice at all? So then there were no other possibilities. That's what I'm trying to wrap my human brain around. How could there be infinite possibilities, or like we were saying before, he created it that way, but yet he had no other options. So then there were never really any other possibilities to begin with. which is where I think a lot of Hasidic scholars get tripped up. And they even tell us he needs and he doesn't need, which is maybe what they're saying in the same sort of context.
What they're saying is he needs now that he needs. Now that he needs it, now he needs it. But I don't know. I don't know what they're saying. They're very confused. But it is a little tricky. On the one hand, you cannot exclude anything from God. You can't say he can't need. Who makes this rule? Who set up this rule? No, God can't need. He's too perfect. Oh yeah, well, go. You tell him. Go tell God that he can't need. So nothing is impossible or excluded from him. Why then does he choose this very specific, detailed, minuscule project, namely us? The fact that he could is kind of interesting, but it doesn't tell us who he is. He is capable of infinite choices. Okay. But when you see what he actually wants, that tells you who he is.
But then if that's actually him, then he couldn't. There weren't really ever possibilities to begin with.
In other words, of all the possibilities, none of them actually express him, other than this.
Right? So they're not really possibilities.
No.
So he didn't create it that way. Like, because just going back to what you were saying before, James, like this is the system he created. Now that we're upping the ante here. We're saying this is not
Well,
a creation. This is his essence, and therefore there were no other possibilities because other rabbis who argue against it say that he's unlimited. Yeah, there's unlimited possibilities, but yet he chose this one. He could have chosen that one, and then everything gets very sticky, like a rat's nest of wires. So I'm trying to untangle this and be very clear.
I mean, just from my perspective, you know, this is the way that it is because it's a relationship. Uh, you can't have a relationship if it's just one way. I mean, that, and
Actually,
again, please, I don't need, I don't want to make anybody mad in any community, but that's just to me logical. I mean, God gave us talents. He gave us a brain. We need to use it. Just because it's, I hear, well, where are the sources? Where are the sources? Okay, I mean, whatever. I mean, all the rabbis can have that argument, but we have to think logically. How are we going to have a relationship with God if God doesn't need something from us? But again, maybe I'm speaking above
no,
my
no, no.
pay grade.
That's exactly right. This one guy says to me, I wouldn't worship God if he needed me. It reminds me of an old Groucho Marx joke. He says, I would never join a country club that would accept me as a member. If God if God needs me, I lose all respect for him. So I wouldn't serve him. But on the other hand, if God doesn't need you, you can't serve him even if you did want to. It's so obvious.
So, what is the trip up from an outsider sort of that got a quick glimpse of the inside debate, so to speak?
I think behind it all, maybe even subconsciously, it's an anti-Christian response. The belief that God is incarnate in a physical body is so scary or so offensive that we go to the opposite extreme. No, he has no body. He has no limbs. He has no human features. He's not human. He doesn't feel. He doesn't care. He doesn't cry. He doesn't. And all of a sudden, there's nothing left to him. That may be the cause, but it's so irrational, and it makes our relationship with God impossible, which can't be good and it can't be right. But theologically, or even philosophically, it is a little complicated. God can choose anything, but yet he can't really. So let's compare it to a marriage. You married your wife, she is your soulmate. Couldn't you have married anybody else? Yeah, I could have married anybody else, but it wouldn't have been my wife. So could God choose something else? Yes, he could choose something else, but that's not him. What is him is not a choice. If it's you, it's you. So when you talk about the infinite possibilities and options, you're talking about God's capacity. He can include everything. He can choose anything. Okay, but that's not him. And it's like saying a human being can sin. But even when he sins, that's not him. I mean, that comes down to another debate. What is the real him in a human being? The part that sins or the part that doesn't? It's not so simple as to say, well, he sinned, obviously that's him. He's a sinner, born to sin. Yeah, you could make that argument. I mean, look, he sins, right? See? He's a sinner. Or, no, he is a servant of God who has gotten a little fablonget. It's not him. God could choose anything, but he only goes with what he really is because he's not fablonget. So again, it strengthens the argument when you say God had no choice. He had no choice. He had to choose good over evil. Okay. If he had a choice, would evil be a possibility? To avoid that, we say, no, he could have chosen it. Of course, he could have chosen it, but he didn't. That means that the good is more substantial, more essential, so that even when there's an option of evil, you don't go there. So the fact that there's the option doesn't make the option as real. On the contrary, even when there's an option for evil, he doesn't choose evil. He goes with what he is. It's not terribly difficult if people are just willing to give it a thought. But the extreme, And also, just not really relevant to anyone who thinks that God doesn't need me because he's perfect is probably not a good husband. Because I kind of think I'm perfect. Well, if I'm perfect, why would I need my wife? So my wife is an embarrassment, a constant reminder that I'm not perfect. That is not a good marriage. Yeah. Needing someone is not an imperfection, it's divine. The need that a person has for some other is a divine feature, not a weakness, not an imperfection. It's like the thought, only God can be perfect. I don't think so. Would it be heresy to believe that an angel is perfect? Would that be idolatry? Would that be believing that nature itself is perfect? Is that idolatry? No. God never said, I'm the only perfect thing in the world. Don't believe anything else to be perfect. Other things can be perfect. Wouldn't make him God. God is something way beyond perfect. Perfect is actually a dead end. What happens once you're perfect? Nothing. It's not even a compliment once you think about it. Would you want to be married to someone who's perfect? Absolutely not. Because where would you go? Hey, want to go out for lunch? No, I'm perfect. Want to go on vacation? No, I'm perfect. Perfection is idolatry. If you believe in perfection, that's idolatry. Perfect is not godly. And besides, that which is perfect would never create you. Why would it? It's perfect. So thank God that God is not perfect. He's much more than that. He's romantic. Once you read the Bible with that in mind, it all falls into place. It makes so much sense. The Bible is a romantic book. So to need something is an imperfection. To need someone is greater than perfect. We need someone because we're created in God's image. We get it from him. So the most divine part of ourselves is that we're not content to be alone. That's godly. It's not spiritual. Spiritual people want to be alone. Right? They tend to be like, did Gandhi ever get married? I don't know. Did he?
I don't think he did.
No. Spiritual is not godly. It's just another human need. The need to have someone else in your life is not a human need, it's a divine need, which we get from Him. It's a whole different world, isn't it? It's like
But
every
yet it's of course, again, Rabbi, the thing that, uh, not to get off the topic of this, but maybe related, if just Chabad in general from a non-Jew perspective, it seems that Chabad is deductive reasoning, taking the whole, or general, and then getting specific. And I think that's maybe the way that God created it. I'm assuming, I haven't gotten anywhere close to that yet, that you have the written word, but then you have other sages that have said, okay, but we need to deduct, we need to use deductive reasoning to figure out. He said, Hashem said this, but look at all of the variables that it affects. Am I wrong on that?
no,
Okay.
that's the process of bringing God down to earth. You take the word of God and you flesh it out. You bring it down to earth. It's not a mysterious poetic sentiment. You bring it down to earth. It affects your relationships. It affects your morality. It affects your nervous system, your anxiety levels. It affects everything. That's how you bring it down to earth.
Rabbi, how light of the nation, teachers of the world, you have obstacles of many people wanting to destroy all Jewish people. People that, in my opinion, too narcissistic to want to not be part of the club, meaning not be Jewish. Um, why can't I be the teacher? Why can't I this or that? A lot of obstacles to be a teacher of the world. And I don't know if I could be a teacher of the world if all those things were done to my ancestors, to me on a daily basis. But I think the world is getting better. I think they're getting more mature. And like I was telling Yanni, we're knocking on the door. Now I'm preaching to the choir because this is what you're involved in. But are the, I don't mean to just say Jews, are Jews ready for this? Are they put together enough that they're ready to teach the world? Because I'm assuming without me, meaning Gentiles, we're not going to do God's plan. We're part of that. We have to do that. You can't live in, yes, you need to keep identity. You need to be Jewish, but you need us.
Exactly right. We need to be Jewish, but not in isolation. That's why we're scattered all over the world. There's a reason. Because we have to take responsibility for the world. We have the information and we can't keep it to ourselves. I heard recently an interesting observation. All prophets were hated. Prophets are like your conscience. The prophets are the conscience of the people, the conscience of the world. People who want to be free and liberal and indulgent, and they hate the conscience because it kind of takes all the fun out of sinning. You sin, but then you regret it, and it just messes everything up. So people want to govern themselves without a prophet standing over their shoulder checking to see if you're behaving properly or not. It turns out that whatever was said about Jesus is actually true of all Jews as a people. Why does the world hate Jews? Because we killed Jesus? No, because we continue to be prophets. And they hate prophets. And I go, stop putting guilt on me. On the other hand, someone who's looking for a moral path, someone is looking for the truth. To them, the prophet is everything. So that's why non-Jews either adore the Jewish, those who bless you will be blessed, or you are the chosen people, or they hate your guts because you're the chosen people. And you keep reminding me that I'm sinning. I hate you. So I think we've turned the corner. I think most people are now ready and actually eager to hear from a prophet. And who are the prophets of the world? The Jewish people. Or a light to the nations. Same idea.
So here's personal question. So how can I have a relationship with God as a non-Jew? How can I get to know and see God everywhere? I don't have to be part of the club, do I?
No, you have to be part of the informed. So studying the subject of, let's say, divine providence, how God is involved in every detail of existence. That's inspiring. Discovering that your father thinks about you all the time. That's inspiring. Most people think God thinks about you only when you've reached the end of your rope. When you've hit bottom, that's where God comes in. Other than that, he doesn't bother with you. That's not a relationship. Right? God is the ER. So getting to know God, big, big mitzvah. Because if you don't know him, you can't love him. If you don't love him, you're not going to serve him sincerely. I mean, that's it. Know him, love him, serve him. Should make a button like that.
Yeah. And I would assume understanding roles, meaning I think a lot of non-Jews would be, oh, Jewish people must be stuck up because they think they're the chosen people. Well, I mean, yes, you accepted to be the chosen people, and God selected you as a chosen people, but boy, does that come with a cost. And that doesn't make me, I don't think that makes me any less. It just means that I have a different part. So if I'm studying uh, scripture per se, and if something doesn't pertain to me, it doesn't mean that I'm less. It just means it doesn't pertain to me. Just like another job description, it doesn't pertain to me.
Well, how are you not condemned and criticized for being a teacher? Who do you think you are? You walk into
What do
the
you know?
class, you walk into the classroom like you're God or something.
Oh, you know some of my students.
Actually, the most humble person in the room is the teacher. Because without the students, I'm out of a job.
Exactly.
So you're really more dependent on the students than they're dependent on you.
Literally, yes. how do a non-Jew get past that narcissist pettiness of that when they start to hear the truth, know the truth? Like I said, for me, I'm assuming that my of course is hearing the truth or understanding the truth.
I think that the word that is used in Hebrew is recognizing the truth. It's like, I know you from somewhere. I don't remember. Oh, that's who you are. You recognize. It's not an intellectual process because you can't argue with truth. It's not an assumption or a guess because it's real. So the proper word for it is recognizing the truth. Like I always, I in the back of my mind, I always knew, and now I realize what I'm seeing. The truth in me responds to the truth in God. So it's like, when you hear a brilliant concept, the reaction is wow. When you hear truth, the reaction is not wow. It's like, uh-huh. It's much deeper than wow.
Do you think that might be, use a metaphor, embedded in our spiritual DNA from God?
What is true of us also. We are part of the truth.
Yeah.
But we get distracted, we get confused, we get seduced into other things, but the truth doesn't go away.
Do you see God's plan being implemented 1,000 times fold in the future, in the near future? Are we, as all sons of daughters of God, going to finally figure it out?
He's finally going to get to us. Yeah, and it's happening rapidly. Day by day, every day is a new reality, a new level of. So God's plan that the world will become holier and godlier than heaven, it's happening. I mean, it's been happening, but we didn't notice much because we were distracted by this war and that war. Now the wars don't distract us for some reason.
Is the key obviously technology, meaning God created good and evil in us? It's up to us to balance the good and the evil, and it's our choice. The same thing with, say, YouTube. You're using it for good. Yanni's using it for good. Many people using it for evil. But is this the key? And what are your thoughts on AI and sort of spirituality or religion, or using AI for God's plan? Can that happen, and how?
For sure, for sure. The thing is, God keeps good and evil balanced. That's how he created the world. There was an evening, there was a morning, one day. So God keeps the balance. Where our job is to create an imbalance of making the good dominant and weakening the evil. God has to keep the balance so that we have freedom of choice. We have to use our freedom of choice to create the imbalance. to promote godliness and eliminate the evil. As it says many times in the Bible, and you shall eradicate the evil from your midst. It doesn't mean kill all the bad guys. It means get rid of the evil within you. Don't balance it. Get rid of it. So God created a balanced world, but he needs us to create the imbalance. And yeah, AI is a wonderful thing. AI can do everything for us except feel. Well, that's wonderful. Let it do everything for us. Then we're free to have all the right feelings and to pursue our relationship with God, which is the uniquely human talent that AI cannot have. So let AI build roads. Let AI make money. Leave me to my relationship with God. In the olden days, you had to be a shepherd, right? All the holy people were shepherds. Let AI be the shepherd. Why does a human being have to take care of animals? Let AI do it. And what will we do? Hey, we have a relationship with God that we need to have more time, more peace of mind, more tranquility. Because relationships thrive in tranquility. Business thrives on competition. Relationships don't thrive on competition.
Not mine. Are the Jewish people ready, Rabbi, because it's going to be an influx of people needing the truth? What we have is not working. Societies are crumbling, yet we have more and more technology. So are the Jewish people ready? Because that's probably might be the biggest challenge of the Jewish people, is being the teachers of all nations. And is that finally going to happen? And how can we get other people to realize a relationship with God is not us being narcissistic and saying, I need, I need, I need. Oh, what can I do for you? We don't seem to sort of ask that a lot in the Christian world. What can I do for you? It's only, I'm going to pray only because, hey, I really need you right now. And if you answer my prayer, I promise.
And I'll ask for more. But that's not
how,
only Christianity, that's Islam too.
how can we get past that? Meaning, we know, but how can we teach that to others?
All you have to do is mention it, and every decent human being responds. I was introduced to a pastor in Minnesota, and his first words were, "So do you believe in the Savior?" I said, "I'm not looking to be saved. I want to serve God, not be served." The man started to cry. He says,
Of course.
"What, God is here to serve me?" It was a 2-minute conversation.
Yeah.
But if you want to really see something fascinating, look up the hostages that have been released in Israel. None of them were religious. None of them. In captivity, they decided to observe Shabbat, to fast on Yom Kippur, to not eat the meat that they gave them. Where is this coming from? It's not religion. The truth is simply dawning.
But
It's
yeah,
amazing. The numbers of non-Jews all over the world who text me. So I'm keeping Shabbat. I'm keeping kosher. I read the Psalms every day. What else should I do? It's not. It's not about believing in God anymore. It's about serving Him. They want to do for Him, consciously or subconsciously. They're not saying what's the right faith. Which one should I believe? Nobody cares. They want to know, how do I serve? I don't think this ever happened before in history. It was always are you a believer or a non-believer? Do you believe in God or in idols? If you believed in God, you're a good guy. No. You can believe in God and be a really nasty person. Now people are not asking what to believe. They're asking, how do I serve? It's messianic. The truth sprouting on its own, not from some religious authority, and not because I found a quote for it. It's the truth.
If you would have said I would be sitting with uh, guys with long beards and hats talking about religion, I would have been like, what? Right? What? What is all this? But the fact of the matter is, I think once we get past um, appearances, traditions, what's your tradition might not be my tradition. But when we get to the truth, and like which started me to a conversation with Rabbi Yanni, is the truth is the truth. It's of course. It's not, I look different from you. I do this, you don't do that. Truth is the truth. And I know that millions, billions of people like me are going to be knocking on the door because of the internet, because of the outreach. And I think Chabad is going to be very, very busy soon, not just trying to serve and unite Jews, it's going to be uniting the world. It's the right message, it's logical.
And it is already happening. It's not theoretical. We just need more of it.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right.
Well, I'm so glad that I found the truth, that I can hear and learn about God's own words, not interpretations, summaries, etc.
Has it affected your teaching?
It has. Um, it's affected me in every way. And my wife is not spiritual or religious, but um, I don't push that on her. I just try to be the example because my wife is very godly. She's a physician. Talk about the most godly thing you can do. And things are happening and happen as I believe they're supposed to happen if I don't get in the way, if that makes sense.
There is one thing that is more godly than a physician, a comedian.
but
A physician who doesn't have a sense of humor.
do you just want to share I'm not sure if you did what you teach, which subject, and like it's kind of
Oh
interesting.
yeah. So I'm a musician. I was a high school band and orchestra teacher for 14 years and earned my PhD. And now I teach students how to be orchestra directors, choir directors, band directors, elementary music teachers. And I could go on and on of how I think music is connected, not only created but connected to God and in a different way that I think humans perceive, almost another relationship with God through some music. But that's what I do for a living, is music, music, music.
Life is a song. It's true.
You know?
You know that very brilliant man, Tesla? One of his theories is that the universe is a sound. God said, and there was.
Uh,
But he was tone deaf. So, so to him, it was just a dull sound, but it's actually music.
uh,
Life is a song. It has movement, it has life, it has ups and it has downs.
so as we finish, I know, Yanni, we need to wrap this up. Advice for me, Rabbi. I've received advice from Rabbi Yanni. I'll ask you the same. Um, Advice for me to know God, become closer to God, see God everywhere. Advice, please.
Tell others. One of the symptoms or signs of love, if you love someone, you want everyone to love him. You want to endear them to everyone. Serving God by endearing him to others. For example, you know your wife is living a godly life because she's a physician. But to some degree, that's true of everyone, anyone who is productive. If you're productive in this world, you are serving God. If you make this world a little better, it's his world that you're improving. You're serving him. Here's this example: a gardener who sees a neglected lawn and he can't stand it because he's an artist. So he goes and he just cleans it up and he beautifies it and he plants it and he makes it. And then somebody comes over and hands him a check. He says, "What is this?" He says, that lawn that you just made beautiful, that was my lawn. So anything you do that makes life more livable, you produce shoes, you're serving God. You produce a toothbrush, you're serving God. It's not just a job. It's God's world and you improved it. Thank God for the opportunity instead of complaining about the boredom of your job.
Amen.
Tell people they're serving God more than they realize.
Are you a Bob Dylan fan?
Yeah, well, I told Yanni a quick story. My only run-in with Bob Dylan, it's funny, but it's not a great story. In the 80s, late 80s, my band I was involved with opened up for Bob Dylan at an outdoor concert. And of course, we didn't meet Bob. That wasn't going to happen. But it was an outdoor venue, and Bob refused to come out of his trailer because in his rider of his contract, the venue has to be 72 degrees. Was it 72 degrees outside? So he didn't want to perform. And I think it was at a university. I think the university president had to go in there and say, "Bob, I'm not God. I can't control the weather. Please come out and sing." And he did, and he was great. But that's my only Bob Dylan story.
What was the temperature?
It was about, I'd say, 78.
Oh my.
But in Tulsa now, Dylan gave all of his things on his career, I mean, notes, everything to an archive here in Tulsa. And I think it had to do with the Woody Guthrie being a Tulsan. I haven't gone yet, but being a university professor, I can ask for special access to things and wear the rubber gloves and look through his most prized possessions of his career. So a magical songwriter, more of a, I think, a poet than anything, and a deeply seated guy, a complicated, but I think he's definitely his own person, and thank God for that. Yeah.
But he was not a conductor.
He was not a conductor, but my favorite conductor, Lenny Bernstein. Now that man was a conductor and a leader.
Yeah.
I think you're right, Rabbi, when I think you said when you're dealing with anti-Semitism, the best thing that you could do is be present, be an example. You're not a strange people. You don't try to close yourselves off from society. You're just living the way that God wants you to live. God wants me to live a different way, but we're all part of the plan. Somehow we got to get past that, and I think we'll have more earth on heaven on earth. May we all live to see it, hopefully.
Yeah. See, the conclusion of all of our prayers, every one of them, all year round, the conclusion is we're looking forward to the time when everyone will serve God. It's not a parochial interest.
And
It doesn't say everyone will become Jewish. It says everyone will serve God.
Exactly. Like I say, I'm not a fan, so to speak. It's not a fad, and I'm not looking to convert. I'm just looking to be me, and I'm okay with just having a part. There's more of me at 56 that I have to learn now that I've asked God many times to say, what about me? I need a little thing for me. I try to serve others. I served my father. I served my mother before that. And it was a blessing because I did that. And what
It's the
about me?
divine within us.
Yeah. Well, I'm
Thank you.
grateful that I found you. I'm grateful I found both of you.
It's a pleasure talking to you.
And I'll be in different chats, but I don't like to talk. You wouldn't know that through this, but usually I just keep quiet and I have my ears open and my heart open.
Beautiful.
and
Thank you.
if there's one thing you want to say, James, maybe you want to share, because as you said, this perspective was so obvious to you, and you kept on hearing God needs, and you're like, of course, recognizing it. Just to finish off here, for those who
Yeah,
are listening, what would you want to share with them to perhaps open them up, and they're still like a little resistant?
yeah, it's just look at things like you would anything else. You wouldn't sign something that you didn't understand, that you weren't comfortable with, that didn't make logical sense. You're not going to do things that don't make sense. That makes you an idiot. This makes sense. It's logical. And like I said, it's of course. It's not something like, oh, I have to believe this. No, it's already there. It's of course. But yet, and if I get poetic, I don't know if it's my soul or if it's just my brain, but none of this is new, even though it's been shocking to me. But it's not new to me deep down inside. It's of course. And that's why it's changing my life. It's changing how I do everything and trying to have that relationship with God, knowing that I'm not a Jew. And that is fine. That's not part of the requisite to being having a relationship with God. But I have to serve God. So people that like me have stumbled on to a video that makes sense to this, keep an open heart, keep an open mind, think logically, use deductive reasoning, ask questions. That's the one thing I love about Chabad is before you answer a question, you usually rattle off 10 different questions about what you're going to talk about. You get to the nitty gritty. And that's what I want because I think that's where the truth is.
Thank you. And one last question: which instruments do you play?
I'm a drummer percussionist by trade, and of course, to be an orchestral director and band director, I need to have a working knowledge on all instruments. I do like to play a little bit more piano than anything else, but at the end of the day, I'm just a dumb drummer. At the end of the day,
And have you heard of Benny Friedman?
well, you sent me a few clips, and amazing, and like millions and millions of view. I would say it's sort of like the Hasidic rock star, like 30 million views. Wow. Most bands don't get that. Yeah, amazing. Great voices. Any musical talent on your end, Rabbi, or did they get it from the wife?
It skipped a generation. It does that. It does that very often. In other words, I didn't hog it. I let it pass through. My brother, my nephews, my grandchildren, they all have it. And I didn't steal any of it from them.
How unselfish of you.
Isn't that nice?